Hey everybody, welcome back to FSi DFS. It's me again, McKinley412. I know you're probably wondering, where's Mega? You guys are a team? He's going to be taking over the next 2 days, so Thursday and Friday. So come back for his videos. Let's just kind of continue a nice season as we continue to roll along. A lot of nice pitchers on this slate. Cole, DeGrom, Cease, McClanahan. I could just go on and on. There's pitchers up at the top that I have a lot of interest in. Obviously, not so much in the lower end of things. I do think there is pretty one clear-cut SP1 on the slate. And yeah, we'll just kind of go through the pitchers. We'll go through the sheet and talk about it a little bit. So please, before we begin, like, subscribe, comment. It all really does help us in continuing this content, bringing this free content for you guys. If you do want to join us, though, at FSi DFS, link down in the description below. So here we go. We got a lot of pitchers with that elite 30% strikeout rate or higher on this slate. Cole, Cease, McClanahan, DeGrom, all in that 30% plus range. But also, Javier and Luzardo are there. Nola, Peterson, very close in their own right. So we have a lot of pitchers with a lot of high strikeout upside and some in some very nice matchups. Cole, Cease, McClanahan, had a tough time kind of differentiating which of these guys that I wanted to put as like the number one overall. None of them are like my favorite pitcher on the entire slate. He's in the mid tier. But Cole going up against Philadelphia, they're 0-4 so far this season. They're still playing their game right now against the Yankees, but it's not because of any lack of offense. Like, they have one of the better batting averages in the entire league. They just are really struggling on the pitching side of things. So maybe they can get to Cole, but I mean, Cole is still Garrett Cole. We saw what he was able to do, just mowed down the Giants. So he's gonna get strikeouts. There's no concern about that. It's just, is he gonna allow some earned runs to these, Philly bats as well? We'll see. DeGrom going up against Baltimore, kind of a tough matchup. Baltimore seems to be like a really fun offense to pay attention to this season. Really struggled in his first start, only 8.7 DK points. Oh, actually, I just noticed DK brought up the new season's data. So his first last start, 3.2 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 7 Ks though, 7 Ks. Really the big thing with him though is he went 73 pitches. He only had 2 starts in spring training, so this is only his 3rd start of the entire season. But you can see they're still kind of stretching him out. Tough matchup going up against Baltimore, 9.5K. Dylan Cease going up against San Francisco. We saw what Garrett Cole did to San Francisco. Kind of skewed the numbers, but San Francisco right now is the highest strikeout rate team on the entire season in terms of like percentage points. Like I said, it's a little bit skewed because of what Garrett Cole did to them on opening day, but it's still proven that it's consistent even after that opening day, that they just strike out a lot as a team. So Dylan Cease, great option at 9.1K. I'm almost kind of like talking him over Cole, to be honest, as I'm talking here. Shane McClanahan, another great solid pitcher. Anytime you can get a 30% K rate pitcher under 9K, you're going to have interest in him no matter what the matchup is. Doesn't have a nice matchup against Washington here. They don't strike out as much as a team as other guys, or as other teams do, but still, 8.8K, great price to pay for a guy with his upside. So I do like all these guys in this high tier. DeGrom, it sounds bad. I don't know. I just don't see him, overtaking Cole, Cease, and McClanahan when you take in terms of salary, matchup, and how far we expect them to go into the game. DeGrom, he was limited to 75 pitches in that opening start. I haven't seen anything about a pitch count this time, but maybe he only goes 90 and doesn't hit that 100 mark or something. So he can still hit a lot. I'm not saying that he's a fade by any means. Still have interest in DeGrom. He's still DeGrom, like just insane, but just grain of salt. Next set, Corbin Burnes. He's next in the salary-wise, but he really struggled on opening day. He did not have a good spring training either. Tough matchup against the Mets, but I mean, the Mets are struggling a little bit on offense, but I don't have any interest in him just because of who he is sandwiched in between. Javier, he is going to be my favorite pitcher on the slate. 8.1K going up against Detroit. We love Detroit, and he had a 33% strikeout rate last season. Not the dream opening day start that we were hoping to have from him, but still, right now, I'm looking at mainly last season's data because really that's the data that we have to go on. So Javier, high strikeout rate pitcher going up against a Detroit team that strikes out a lot. 8.1K. He's probably going to be my favorite pitcher on the slate. He is the cover of this video for that reason. Below him, Luzardo at 7.9K. Another guy who has a high strikeout rate, 30% strikeout rate. In a decent matchup, going up against Minnesota. Not too scared about them. They do have some pop at times, but still, they're not a team that you should be shying away from by any means. 7.9K, great price to pay for a guy with a 30% strikeout rate and a high ceiling. Aaron Nola, don't have too much interest in him going up against the Yankees, especially when he's sandwiched or right below Luzardo and Javier in terms of pricing. So, he's fine. If you want to go there in GPP, absolutely go for it. But personally, I don't have too much interest in Nola on this slate. Logan Webb, I put B real. He just blew by the Yankees. He had how many strikeouts? 11, I want to say. He had 12 strikeouts against the Yankees on opening day. This is not who Logan Webb is. We saw him struggle in the spring last year. He had a strikeout rate in the low 20s. This is not who Logan Webb is. Don't be expecting another double-digit strikeout outing. So let's be real. Yeah, he can have a nice outing against the White Sox, but this is not somebody that I'm going to be jamming in and expecting 30 DK points out of this time around. I do think Pablo Lopez, I think he could be a nice option here. We're down into the lower salary tier. I think Lopez could be fine. He doesn't have the elite strikeout rates as a lot of these other pitchers have on this slate, which is less than ideal. But he is going up against Miami, who can struggle to score runs, put runs up on the board. Peterson right below him. I put him for his 27.8% K rate. Again, sorry if I'm going kind of back and forth here. Maybe I should just stick on one. Maybe I'll put the salaries in. Who knows? We'll see. But Peterson, great strikeout rate last season. Didn't kind of amount to a whole lot in his first start this season, but still. 27.8% K rate is nothing to scoff at, especially when we had a whole season's worth of data last year. But he was pitching behind DeGrom and Scherzer, so he kind of got hidden, lost in the. I don't know what the word is. It's late. Whatever. After that, it's all pretty ugly. I don't really have too much interest in anybody down here. Elder for Atlanta. He pitched he started 9 games last season. He had an ERA of 3. You can see here, 3.29 ERA in 2022. He went 9 games, like I said. Low strikeout rate. It was only around like a 20, I think it was 20.8. I was looking at his numbers before this video. So he's one of the higher pitching prospects for Atlanta. It's not like, don't be expecting MVP season or anything. But he's a solid pitcher, decent pitcher. Just a brutal matchup going up against St. Louis. So limited interest in him. Not saying he's a fade by any means, but I'm going to have limited interest to say the least. All these are guys, like I kind of already mentioned, no interest, or just kind of fade them down below. So looking towards the bats, Boston and Tampa Bay. Those are the top 2 teams that really stand out. I think it's like Boston, Tampa Bay, and then like a gap, and then Atlanta, and then like another gap, Texas, and Houston. Voth for Baltimore. We don't know the starting Baltimore pitcher yet. It could be Voth, might not be. When Bradish went down, the rotation kind of got messed up in terms of who was scheduled to pitch. Like we had, Wells was supposed to pitch on Tuesday, but then he came in for long relief on Monday. So then everything got messed up. So who knows? I don't know what's going on with the Baltimore pitcher as of this moment. But Boston and Tampa Bay are definitely the 2 favorite stacks that I am interested in. Boston going up against Mitch Keller. And really, it's jamming the lefties again. Casas at 2.9K. He is probably going to be pretty popular in a lot of the cash builds for sure. And then it's just like jamming in the other big lefty guys. So like Verdugo, Yoshida, Devers, all of them are having phenomenal seasons. Really, Boston in general and the bats is having a phenomenal season. They're playing some high scoring games. So Boston stack is probably going to be my favorite on the board for Wednesday night with these 4 headlining it. If you want to throw in Duvall at 3.9K, awesome. Love it. He could be a great solid option for you there. The other team that I talked about is Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay going up against Patrick Corbin. any team going up against Patrick Corbin this season is somebody that you're going to want to have some exposure to. Patrick Corbin last year in pitchers that saw, at least 400 batters, so like his minimum qualified pitcher stat or whatever, he had the highest rate of barrels. And what that means is that batters just hit him harder than any other pitcher in the league when you take into account how many batters that he saw. So definitely going to have a lot of interest in Tampa Bay. Two of the main guys, you can kind of see if you do a Boston stack, you got second base, shortstop, Brandon Lowe, Wander Franco. I know Lowe is a lefty, but lefty, righty, Corbin is an even splits pitcher, meaning guys from either side of the plate, they hit him kind of at the same batting average rate. So I'm not paying too much attention to the platoon splits on Corbin here just because, he really doesn't have any. He's an even splits pitcher. So Brandon Lowe, nice cheap 3.8K, Wander Franco at 4.8K. And you can kind of quickly see that salary doesn't become too much of an issue, especially if you throw in Javier as like your SP1. Let's just throw in Garrett Cole, see what happens. 3.4K for remaining, and that includes, getting possibly a cheap catcher. So maybe you don't want to go Cole, maybe you want to go a little bit cheaper. McClanahan at 8.8, 30+% strikeout rate. Now you're looking at 3.7 remaining for everybody else. So there's not too much struggle with salary, especially if you're going to be throwing in Casas at first base for only 2.9K. Atlanta, really like them. They're just really expensive. That's kind of like the main thing. They're going up against Mikolas, who had a just atrocious opening start, which is kind of crazy because he was so good in spring. And even last year, he was an all-star. He only had an ERA of, what did it say? Let's see. Yeah, okay, so here you go. Here's his spring training. He went 12 scoreless innings. There we go. I knew I read it somewhere. 3.29 ERA last season. So, he's a decent pitcher. He doesn't really have much of a ceiling at all, but he definitely can let up some contact. And just because of their price and just because who they are, Atlanta is probably going to be a higher stack on the radar each night. GPP over here, I think Pittsburgh is really, really intriguing. Going up against Corey Kluber. We saw what happened to Kluber on opening day when Baltimore was able to get on base at will and then steal bases at will. So if Pittsburgh's able to do that, and the Pittsburgh offense has been pretty decent so far this season. Mainly two guys, I'll fully admit that. But Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz, that's definitely going to be leading the charge there going up against Kluber. But like I said, the Boston pitching and the Boston bullpen has been pretty ugly so far this season. So even if they get past Kluber, they're facing a bullpen that's certainly struggling in their own right. So I do think Pittsburgh can be a very intriguing GPP play. The White Sox, I think, can also be a very intriguing GPP play going up against, let's see, here we go. Going up, nope, just kidding. Oh, yeah, going up against Webb. Like I mentioned, to be real, he had 12 strikeouts against the Yankees on opening day. That's not who he is. He's a low strikeout pitcher. He allows a lot of contact. He allowed, I think, 3 or 4 home runs during spring training in his minimal time of spring training. So these guys, they have some pop in their bats. Webb, he can let up some home runs. He's a low strikeout pitcher. Nobody's probably going to be on the White Sox because, especially the game log watchers, aren't going to be on the White Sox. They're like, oh, they're going up against Webb. Fade. No. So I do think White Sox can come in at some very low ownership who can have some serious home run upside. And then GPP, kind of rounding things out. You can kind of see it there. Leverage stacks, I think there's a lot of them. Just Baltimore, Detroit, San Francisco. There's just so many because I don't know where the ownership's going to be shaking out just because there are so many high strikeout rate pitchers. But I still think that Javier going up against Detroit at 8.1K is going to be my favorite. Boston stack, Tampa Bay stack, combo it. I think that's going to be a pretty popular build. Obviously, you might have some one-offs here and there, but I do think that's kind of where this slate is heading, especially for now. But things can change as we go throughout the day, as we go throughout, get some lineups, maybe some value pops up elsewhere, maybe the stacks kind of shuffle a little bit and whatnot. So again, take it for what it is for now, but I think that is kind of where things are going. So as always, thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. Mega Roar is going to have the next 2 days covered for you guys here on Thursday and Friday. Yeah, so as always, good luck in your contests. Thanks for watching, and we'll